And let me ask you about your new Forward Party, because you say it's an attempt to appeal to what you say is the moderate common sense majority. It's also the same name as your book. Is this an attempt to pump up book sales?
Well, I'd have to say this would be a pretty silly way to go about it, given that we have co-founded a national party that now has tens of thousands of Americans signed up, co-chaired by former governor of New Jersey, Christine Todd Whitman. And the fact is 62% of Americans
But are you
want
just
a
promoting
third party.
yourself? I guess what I'm asking is, are you just out there promoting yourself with this?
Again, Jim, there are, as you can easily imagine, there are hundreds of better ways to go about promoting a book than starting a political party to do so. I mean, I'm building this party because 62% of Americans want it. We're more polarized than ever. And the fact is the two parties have divvied up the country so that 79 to 90% of races are uncompetitive. Most of the people watching this right now aren't even living under a two-party system. They're living under one party.
The other week, I asked veteran Democratic strategist James Carville about what he thought of the Forward Party, and he had quite a strong reaction. Let's listen to that.
I think in a nation awash in really stupid ideas, this stands out as a really stupid idea. Ralph Nader basically elected George W. Bush in 2000. Jill Stein basically elected Donald Trump in 2016. And the only possible thing this could do is bleed some moderate Republicans off of voting for whoever the Democratic nominee is. This thing is going nowhere. It's vanity. It's look at me. It's performance art.
What's your response to that, Andrew? Is this, hey, look at me?
Well, even his description jumps straight to the presidential race, which is not where our focus is at all. Our focus is on the 506,000 locally elected officials, school board members, city council members, mayors, county executives, because again, in the majority of the country, 70% of these races are uncompetitive or uncontested. The American people want real choice. We want to provide
but people obviously worry.
in their towns and communities and where they live.
Those lower level races are obviously important, but people worry about another 2016 scenario where a third party candidate like Jill Stein or Gary Johnson costs Hillary Clinton the election. Don't you think that putting yourself out there, putting this party out there as an alternative that appeals to some moderate Republicans, could potentially throw the race to Donald Trump, put Donald Trump back in the White House? Is that what you want?
I'm the co-chair of an anti-extremist party. I ran against Trump. So I don't plan on doing anything that's going to increase Trump's odds. But again, 62% of Americans want a third party. And we are looking right now at a competitive U.S. Senate race as one example, where you have an independent Evan McMullin running neck and neck with a Trump-endorsed incumbent in an environment
but the Democratic
that,
Party
frankly,
in Utah, the Democratic Party out in Utah got behind Evan McMullin. Andrew, why not run again as a Democrat? If you want to be president, run again as a Democrat.
So, Jim, you know, I haven't made any conclusions about 2024 except for the fact that the United States needs a unifying, positive third-party movement because we're getting increasingly polarized. And if it's not Trump, it's going to be a successor to Trump because this system is uniquely vulnerable to authoritarianism. You have a two-party system.
But I can hear the folks over at the White House. President Biden has had Republican.
Need a better system.
But President Biden, I can hear Democrats over at the White House saying President Biden has had Republican support on a number of agenda items. He is trying to work in a bipartisan fashion. Why not try to support that as a Democrat? You were just a Democrat 10 minutes ago.
I support attempts to cross the aisle, but we can all see that 7 out of 10 of the Republicans that bravely voted to impeach Trump are already going to be out of Congress by the time January comes along. And the moderate population in both parties is unfortunately dwindling quickly. So the political incentives end up disproportionately empowering the 10% of extremes on both sides.
But you're going to have to come up with policy
really
positions.
Negative results.
Right,
we
but
just
Andrew,
need a better system.
Yeah, but Andrew, you're going to have policy positions at some point. How does the Forward Party feel about Roe versus Wade? Should it have been overturned?
Well, I personally think that women's reproductive rights are fundamental human rights, but the Forward Party has not left or right, but forward stance on even the most divisive and contentious issues.
Well, what does
because
that
there's a
mean? Don't you have to
common
take a
sense
position
majority
on something?
View
Don't you
on
have to take a
most all
position on
of-
something? You can't just say, well, this is a hot button issue, so I'm not going to take a position on you. You know, if you want to run the country, you're going to have to make some hard decisions, Andrew.
Again, the Forward Party is about that common sense consensus majority view, which is very clear on abortion. It's clear.
What about
on
guns? What about
It's
assault
clear on
weapons?
climate change. It's actually clear on just about every issue under the sun.
Should
And
18-year-olds
we're
be
not
able to
getting
buy
progress on any of those
AR-15s?
issues
Should
because of the nature of our system.
18-year-olds be able to buy AR-15s?
Again, the common sense consensus majority is that there should be some rules around background checks and access to firearms, but we're not getting any of these things, Jim, because the two-party system does not need to deliver.
But it doesn't sound
any
like you're
meaningful
taking any
solution
hard
for the two
positions.
parties
It
to
sounds like
continue to
you're
trade power.
It sounds like you're sort of a fill-in-the-blank party. If somebody wants a party with no clear policy positions, you're it. But unfortunately, in the real world, you have to take a position on something.
Well, we're for the common sense consensus view on guns, abortion, climate change, but we're not getting a common
But
sense consensus
what are those
result
positions?
on any of those things, Jim. And
Those
Americans
are just
smart
sort of
enough to reason
fuzzy,
why.
but
It's
those are
because we have a
fuzzy,
two-party system that
nebulous.
does
It
not need
sounds like
to
you
deliver.
came up with something in a focus group. Common sense, middle of the ground. That sounds wonderful. That sounds great. But at the end of the day, don't you have to take a position on something?
Well, the great thing is the American people know where we want the country to go. And what we know that we need a more
is
dynamic,
where?
truly representative system than we're getting right now, which is why the Forward Party is growing so quickly. Tens of thousands of Americans have signed up in all 50 states because we know that the two-party system is getting worse, not better, and we know we need something new.
And who is going to be bankrolling